Alright, Fujifilm just sent me this in the mail. It's a Fujifilm X100VI. As you know, I'm a huge fan of the X100V, so they sent me an X100VI along to try out. I don't get to keep it, I only have it for a couple weeks. But to start off with making content for it, I'm going to take you guys on a little photo walk and share my first impressions of the X100VI. I'm going to throw the Insta360 on my chest and we're going to do a bit of a POV. Now I may call it an X100V or an X100V on accident a couple times, that's just because of what I'm used to saying. This is indeed the X100VI, so let's go take a little walk. Alright, so I've already taken about 65 photos on my commute home today. I'm using the recipe Emulsion 86. If you don't know, I'm a huge fan of recipes. I have a whole playlist where I test out and review recipes. You should definitely check those out. First shot, this car is always here and it always looks good. So let's start off easy with a shot I've taken a couple times. When I'm out shooting and I see cars on the street like this, I tend to take a couple. I like to make a whole set. So I get wides, tights, and your mediums, and then you can put it all together and then you have a nice little photo story, not just a one-off photo of a car. There's a guy coming up with flowers. Let's see if I can get it. Quick look, that looks pretty good. I really love the older signs you see on some of the laundromats and bodegas. They just have a classic feel that you don't get with modern buildings, and it feels very Brooklyn or New York to me. So far, my impression of the handling of this camera, it handles really nicely. Feels just like the X100V. It's definitely a little heavier, but it's not bothering me. It doesn't feel super heavy. It's still kind of compact. It's not going to fit in your pocket, but it's going to be great to carry around all day with you. I'm currently heading down more to an industrial area in Gowanus. I'm currently heading down to a more industrial area in Gowanus. I think it's a little more interesting to shoot. There's less street photography, but there's a lot of old cars and it's got a very unique feel. I know a lot of people who had the X100V and then got the X100VI who are using their same adapter have a gap right here. I don't have that gap. I've linked whatever adapter I'm using below just in case you're interested. And I'm also using a 10% Moment Cine Bloom filter, which I use on all the photos I take with the X100V and now with the X100VI. She had an interesting look. The hat really popped in that photo. Got a G-Wagon at the gas station. All right, we got a cool old Toyota pickup over here that we'll grab some snaps of. And like I said, we'll try to get a couple so we get the full story of the truck and the scene. When I'm shooting a car like this, I try to bring my f-stop a little higher just so I don't get any of the text too out of focus. You can see that Cine Bloom filter is doing work right now. Now, this could just be in my head, but I am noticing this camera feels a little more responsive than the X100V. I haven't really used them side by side directly yet, but I just think even moving my focus point feels faster with the X100VI. Autofocusing is definitely faster, but the lens autofocus motors are still the same ones that were in the X100V, which are okay. They do the job, but they're not the smoothest focusing motors out there. Now, as I'm sure you could tell by now from the photos and the atmosphere, it is drizzling a bit. The X100VI, just like the X100V, is weather sealed if you're using the adapter. I have an adapter on with a filter, so I'm weather sealed. But just know that if you want to take out your X100VI or your X100V in rainier, wetter weather, you're going to want to have an adapter and a UV filter or a mist filter just to keep it nice and sealed. There's a mattress over here with some graffiti. It could make for a good photo. We'll take it and see what we get. Now right now, I'm not trying to get my best photos ever. I'm just trying to shoot and get a feel for the camera and how the sensor works, how it picks up light, if I need to underexpose, overexpose, how the recipe works. This is my first time using this Emulsion 86 recipe from Fuji X Weekly. And every time you put a new recipe in your camera, it does take some time to get used to. And that's what I'm doing today. I was hoping I'd see some cooler cars down here. Sometimes there's a lot of old cars. I know there's an old Mustang that's usually around here. Maybe I'll get to it, maybe I won't, maybe it's there, maybe it won't. That's just how street photography and shooting around the city goes. All right, now I'm gonna start making my way back to some more residential areas, less industrial, and maybe we'll do some more street photography. We'll see what we get, you never know. Obviously, I haven't looked at any of these photos yet, but so far the autofocus does seem snappier to me. I don't know if I'm getting more in focus, but it's definitely quicker, and that's a big improvement. We got a guy with an umbrella here. You can never beat those umbrella shots. Let's see if I can snap it. Okay, we got a sign for John's Deli over here, which I really like. It's got a very weathered look, and I don't know if John's Deli is open anymore. I am finding this recipe handles blues really well, and it's very good for like this type of weather, rainy, gross, stuff you don't usually want to go outside in. I want to be able to look at some of these sets of photos and create a story around them. Maybe this deli used to be really good and everyone in town went to it, but then the area kind of became more desolate and now it's run out of business. Stuff like that, like every photo should have a story that you can create with it. All right, we got a very cool old Volvo over here. It's got a color you don't see in cars anymore very often. It is a little tight. This is still that 23 f2, which is equivalent to a 35 mil. It's not the easiest for shots like this, but usually you can take enough steps back and make it work. Like I said, it's just a bit tight to get the whole car, but we'll also get our tights and hopefully it'll all work out. The ticket on the windshield always makes for the perfect story. All right, I may need to go to manual focus for this. There's a switch right on the side to switch. Now, manually focusing with this lens isn't the best. It's just focused by wire and it's very hard to see what you're focusing on. And focusing through a window is never easy. Now you might notice I'm keeping my shutter speed and my ISO fairly high. My ISO has to be above 500 for this recipe to get that 400% dynamic range. And my shutter speed I just keep high because often when you're shooting street photography, people come out of nowhere and you want to snap it, and I don't like motion blur in my street photography unless it's intentional. I find for me, I don't like to go below like 1/400 or motion blur starts to, you know, be seen in people's footsteps and the subtle movements. You can kind of go to like 1/250 if you really want to push it. A lot of people do, it's just not my personal choice. Trying to get this Chinese restaurant sign in the shot as someone walks by. We'll wait a couple minutes and see what we get. This car I've taken a couple times. I've got photos with it with the X100V, so I'll be able to compare a bit. Although very different colors between those two shots in those days. All right, now let's get our detail shots. F2.8, so the car's in focus. Now I often wonder if there's a technical name for this genre of photography. It's street photography, but it's also car photography. I really love it. I think all these cars, like I've been saying, tell such a story. And being able to capture that story and share it is awesome. All right, I was out for about an hour. I shot around 200 photos and I'm really happy with my initial impressions. This photo walk wasn't my best work. It was just to get to know the camera, and the best way to get to know a camera is by going out and shooting. I think it'll be really interesting to see how these photos look. I'd love to hear what you guys think of this recipe from Fuji X Weekly, Emulation 86. I'm gonna have a whole video about recipes that are perfect for the X100VI coming to my channel soon. If you have any recommendations, let me know in the comments below. For now, go and shoot some content. Thanks for watching.